We gotta remember, we're still here to talk to Renengild, the mayor, about what actually is going on with Durgan's battery and so on, and why they want me to go there and everything. Also, for a second there, I was like, oh, yay! There's a nice little category just for this DLC so I can keep track of all of its quests. And then I realized, oh, right. These are the quests I've been picking up. Because this is still only for the main quests of the White March. Whoops. Also, I've been all astute, being all like, "Oh yes, I do believe that the Hollowborn are going to be this whole curse, this Wadwin's legacy thing is it's going to be the core story, I think, of this entire game." Fucking main quest headline, which I've never read before, I don't think, because I think I just blew past it without looking at it directly, because I just assumed it would be like, main quest. So it might as well look like this and not existed. It says the hollowing of the Deerwood. It's literally, it's just as clear as possibly could be. And I don't think I've ever even looked at it, just because it was clearly the main quest heading, so I don't think I even glanced at it to read it. Really starts to sink in how long we've been playing when you see how much gray stuff there is down here. Like, oh, wow. We have done stuff. It's weird because I don't feel like I've been playing this game that long necessarily, and yet the episode count is way up there, and those are hour-long episodes. So kudos to me, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what's over here. We found the supposedly suspicious character, which I guess was vaguely suspicious because but it's because he's an escaped slave.
10 Ponds says he trips them.
You're awful.
The hero of the hour, he laughs. Hayfrick send you down to check on us? We weren't causing trouble, on my word. Who are you? I really would have liked that to be voice acted. Cause what? Teenlisig. Lask? Teenlask? He raises his mug. Humble fisherman. Though with the ogres coming down all the time, well, I'd sooner fish for truth down a bottle for the time being. What are you playing? Dozens. Care to test your luck? Each of us puts down 50 pans, 3 wins, and you take the 100. Could explain the rules if you like. What are the rules? It's simple enough. Winner takes all. We roll 3 dice each. Get 3 4s, and that's the dozen. Beats all other rolls. You roll anything else that sums to 12, that's the towers. Second best. You roll any other triples, that's a god hammer. You get a pair, that's witnesses. 1, 2, and 3 is the saint. That's the lowest. Oh god, I'm already not interested. Any other roll is talkers. Doesn't amount to anything. So you roll the dice again. You get it? No, I don't. I'll play. Teenlask reaches forward to gather up his dice. Right. Here we go. Coins on the table. Yeah, whatever. It's no money. I'll let you go first since you're new. Teenlask chuckles. Roll the dice. You cast the dice. 1, 4, 4. Witnesses. Value 1. Your turn. Oh, talkers. Doesn't mean he gets to re-roll though, so I'm gonna lose basically. Teenlace grumbles and picks up the dice again. Why would you grumble if you roll talkers? It's literally a free extra roll. That's good. Witnesses value 5. Ah, my witnesses beats your witnesses. Looks like I win. Teenlace reaches forward to gather up his dice. Ready? Roll the dice. Witnesses value 1. What the fuck? Witnesses value 6. Ha! Godhammer's value 5. Talkers. Talkers. Towers. So he wins. No, he doesn't. Your god hammers beats my towers. The round's yours. I'm already confused, honestly. That's fine. I don't like playing poker or any other games where there's like a bunch of weird arbitrary values assigned to what you get. Like, oh, these 3 things are magically the good. It's like you need a fucking flow chart to figure out how the game works. Towers, value 6. Witnesses, value 3. We're tied. Even so far, go on then. Uh-oh. I'm fucked. Oh, we tied. Wow, we're extra tied. There's a lot of drama over a tiny amount of money. Talkers. Witnesses, value 6. Damn, your witnesses beats my witnesses. The round's yours. Yay! Ah, well done. The game's yours. Prize 2. Here you are. You've gained 100 copper. Don't get too smug now. I'll best you next time. There won't be a next time. That game is boring.
Yeah.
You literally just click the roll button over and over again, and then the game tells you if you won or not. And you don't make any choices of any kind along the way. Not even any of those other choices you normally make in like a... It doesn't even have any of the choices you normally put into like poke, well, I guess there's some in poker too. But I was thinking like blackjack, where like there's different things you can do a little bit. That game was literally just roll until you find out who wins. But it's overcomplicating the winning process. Like, they might as well just have you rolling for whoever has the highest number and that person wins. The winners with the highest number. Because all they did was shuffle up which numbers win, but you don't make any more choices, so who gives a shit? Like, you're adding complications to a game without adding decisions to the game. And like, super basic game design in my book is like, if you're adding complexity to the game, it should always be because you're trying to add depth to the game. But that's depth without... That was complexity without depth, which just makes it a bad game. You might as well just roll 3 dice and see who gets closer to 18, which is the winning roll, because it's a perfect roll. But they're like, no, you have to decode your numbers that you're also not making any choices about because you just roll and find out you won or not. Weird. The talk icon will appear on a companion's portrait if they have something new they wish to discuss with you.
Don't see the harm. Building's thirsty work.
There's little town left, if there was much of one to begin with.
Hello, Rayfald. What you... Are you rebuilding the... Oh god, it's still on fire. What are you building, if it's not that, apparently?
Figured you'd be out of here in a flash after the fighting died down. Most people don't stick around after they figure out the ogres are making regular visits.
They weren't even hard. We're fine.
I would have helped fight them monsters off, you know, if I didn't think I'd just get in the way. And with you there to handle things, everything turned out well enough, didn't it? Don't see why Havrick's still sour at me.
What's this about Havrick?
Oh, Havrick's the innkeeper over at the Grave's Rest. I may have been hiding in the inn when the fighting started. The raid didn't improve his disposition any. Did you know he has a whole case of Fenlin liquor in there? I keep offering to buy it off him, but he says he's saving it up for when the battery's open again.
Well, that'll be pretty soon, so just hang out for a bit. Oh wait, he probably doesn't have any interest in sharing it with you. Well, guess you're fucked.
As if we're gonna last that long. Anyhow, he said he'd thrash me up and down the mountain if I didn't leave him be.
If you think we're all gonna die, you could just leave. It was easy enough. I came here like today. So I know it's possible to come and go if you think you're all gonna get wiped out. What's so special about this stuff?
They say a single drop changes your life. You'll never want to have a drink of anything else. Probably that's all rubbish, but it's supposed to be very good.
A single drop can change of anything can change your life. A simple handshake can permanently change your microbiome for life. I see.
It's delusional is what it is. Point of fact, what with you dealing with ogres and everything, maybe you'd, you know, be willing to help me out.
Oh, bravo. Subtle indeed.
Averick keeps all the good stock in the inn cellar. Out of sight, you see. I mean, it's bound to be under lock and key, but I'm sure he wouldn't miss a single bottle. Not with everything that's going on.
What does stealing wine for you have to do with fighting ogres?
Well, Averick can be a little intimidating when it comes to his beverages. But otherwise, not much, I guess.
I'm not going to rob the innkeeper for you.
Shh, all right, keep it down. I didn't mean anything by it. But if you happen to come across some, then maybe you could share?
No, don't add it as a quest, God damn it.
Please, mister, can you give me a knife?
No. New quest added. Forever. Give that kid a knife. No. Stop. Please. There's Renengild's house. The mayor. Let's get some context for why we're here. In the first place. You see a middle-aged woman and a younger man locked in an argument. Both wear clothes streaked with blood and dirt. The young man turns to the woman, a fresh cut visible below his eye.
They've destroyed the stockade, Mother! It's...
Enough. They're gone.
What does that mean? You have a portrait. Are you a party member? Or is it just that you're the main character of this entire DLC, so they decided to give you a portrait? Or maybe there's more common later, paid more artists. She holds up a hand, which is missing the final joint of the ring finger. But it's her voice, sharp and steely, that silences the young man. As he glowers at his toes, she turns to you with dark circles under her eyes and a smile pulled taut across her thin lips.
The deliverer of Cadnua. Thank you for making the journey. Abida knows it's a long one. Well, I'm sure you wagered on a more civilized welcome. Still, we're much obliged for your capable intervention.
She shoots the young man a brief but stern glare. He pulls a knife from his belt and an apple from his pocket and sets to work. I was told this has to do with Durgan's battery.
What's in it, to be exact?
She folds the map in her hand with a quick and merciless pinch.
Stalwart isn't much more than a grease stain on a map. What roads we've got in the White March are basically tracks in the snow. And for every trader or adventurer that comes through, 3 of our own leave for good. But it weren't always so. There was a time when kings and queens sent their firstborn to these mountains, when the White March was the envy of empires.
Her eyes shine, and for an instant she looks like a much younger woman. How the mighty have fallen. Alaloths are really quippy lately. Being in the party helps, but specifically he seems really quippy in this town, like he has something to say about every interaction. What an era that must have been for the White March.
The Pargrin dwarves transformed the White March once. We could bring some of that greatness back to Stalwart, but we need the White Forge.
He raises the map and taps a spot in the middle of a white and gray expanse. I know of it.
Then you'll know that no one's felt as much as a summery breeze from the White Forge for over 200 years.
He smooths the creased map.
I'm hoping you can do something about that.
She ignores the young man, who shakes his head at the crackling logs. It's funny to me that I keep getting lore checks where it's like, oh yes, I know all about that. But of course, 90% of the interactions in this game are you being somebody who seems to have never been outside before and knows nothing about these grand sweeping problems that this country is facing. And like, what do you mean Wadwin's legacy? Oh, what are all these gods you're talking about? Like, you're like a newborn babe that doesn't know anything about the world because you have to be the conduit for the protagonist. But I have a high lore skill, so every 10th time that happens, suddenly I'm like, oh yes, ha ha ha, I know all about these things because I study so much stuff. And it's like, and yet you missed all the really important things to get these really specific pieces of knowledge along the way. It's the two things have to fight it out a bit. How so?
We've been trying to breach Durgan's battery for over a year now. Problem is, the other expeditions can't so much as dent the front door.
She rubs at her fatigue-shadowed eyes. Why the sudden interest in the White Forge?
We're an old mining town. Or we were until the Adirans pulled out and left us with a half-dug mine shaft and something resembling an inn.
She thumps the sturdy wooden wall with her fist.
Since then, it's been a steady decline. You've seen the roads. Isn't much we can produce that the Valians can't ship cheaper. But the White Forge... well, if we could fire it up again and start producing Durgan steel, or something close to it, wouldn't matter if we're in the White March or the Living Lands. Business would come.
She folds her arms and gives you a stiff nod. The young man says nothing, but he tosses a sliver of the apple peel onto the fireplace. Tell me about these other expeditions.
A dozen different groups have come through at our request, and several more besides. Been hoping that one of them could clear the way through Durgan's battery. But young or old, green or seasoned, it don't seem to matter. They cast their spells, chisel at the door, and search the grounds until they've worn new treads into the old stone. The lucky ones eventually go home. Plenty more find themselves on the wrong side of a blizzard, or an ogre raiding party.
And that's why you need my help.
That's the long and short of it. We're laborers and fisherfolk, not adventurers. But Durgan Steel could put Stalwart on the map again, open up the mines, bring in new business. We just need the White Forge.
Why is Durgan Steel so special?
Because you can shave stone with it, cleave cast iron in two, and the stuff's as rare as it is remarkable.
In her enthusiasm, Renengild shifts on her balls of her feet. She props one bent arm on the other, pointing distractedly towards the eaves of the house. If you had a suit of armor made out of that, bet people'd get tired of trying to stab you after a while and just give up.
If we could make something even half as good, we'd have a market at our doorstep and work enough for all of Stalwart.
For a split second, her gaze flickers to Ulrich. How is it no one's gotten to Durgan's battery yet?
Where should I start? Ogres, blizzards, or sheer damned inaccessibility?
She ticks the items off on her fingers.
It ain't for lack of trying, I'll tell you that much. Got untold riches in Durgan Steel lying just inside, and never mind the White Forge itself. The Adirans who first settled Stalwart tried to crack it. So did the Valians, and every other cocky adventurer with more metal than sense.
She folds her arms, shaking her head at a pitted floorboard.
But the place has a funny way of sealing itself up. Front door stays shut, the tower entrances are clogged with rubble, and it's been impossible to blast a way in.
Renengild trails off, and for a moment the room is silent but for the popping and crackling of the fire. What happened to Durgan's battery?
It don't bear dwelling on. There's too many superstitions about that place as it is.
She waves her mangled hand in a broad crescent, averting her gaze. It's a minor thing, it's just that, like, the voice actor is so articulate and precise with her speaking that her saying, "it don't bear dwelling on," sounds strange, because she's not exactly, like, rushing through her sentences and like, abbreviating and using much jargon, but then she says, "it don't bear dwelling on."
Killed each other off, or so the old books say.
He glares at Renengild through hooded eyes.
Plenty of tales to go around, but none of them open the battery. And the last thing people need is another reason to fear the place.
She scowls at him.
Whatever it was, the other Pargrin dwarven settlements in the White March, Bone Picker, the Hawk, and the rest, emptied out not long after, moved to gentler, greener lands.
Had the right idea, if you ask me.
I don't see why you need the White Forge to make good steel.
Finally, someone talking sense.
He raises his knife and half-peeled apple to the fire in a dramatic gesture of exasperation.
Durgan steel wasn't just good. It was some of the best. We need the best if we're going to keep Stalwart alive.
She glares at Uldric, even while she speaks to you.
No one alive today has seen the White Forge, but the old stories tell that it was powerful, glowed white-hot, and gave off a steady, even heat, unlike any other furnace. Let better-schooled folk puzzle over how the thing was built. I just want to see it put to use.
Tell me about the Pogren dwarves.
Pargrin's a word in their language. Means traveler. They've been wanderers for generations, but I couldn't tell you much more.
Sounds familiar. It's the basis of my character. All right. Any idea where I should begin?
The battery's up the mountain to the north. A good hike away.
She jerks her head in the direction of the slope behind the house.
Near Galvino's place, huh?
Uldric says it in a breezy tone, but Renengild falls suddenly silent, consternation hardening the lies on her face. He smiles and draws his knife across the apple again.
So it is. Though I was going to suggest dealing with that ogre camp before anything.
She compresses her thin lips into a frown. Who's Galvino?
Mestre Galvino, as the old crosspatch prefers it, lives by himself and keeps the wilder and beasts at bay through sheer foulness of his temper.
She means to say he's a skilled smith and animancer, who's lived in the shadow of Durgan's battery for over a decade.
He looks over his shoulder at you and Renengild. And by Animancy's flimsy standards, that makes him an expert, does it? He folds his arms.
And he butters his bread on both sides and fits his left shoe before his right. But that's neither here nor there.
She crosses her arms and crumples the page in one tightening fist. She has a lot of emotions attached to Galvino. Seems odd that he lives out in the wilderness by himself.
Not doing much worse than any of us.
Uldric speaks to you, but his eyes are fixed on Renengild in sullen mischief.
Huh. He wore out his welcome in Stalwart. He's better off with ogres and Lagufoth as his neighbors now.
What happened with Galvino?
Old lunatic finally went too far. And we sent word to the Valiant Academies. I don't like speaking on it, but if you want to get his guff, just remind him that we gave him the boot.
I see.
Ain't nobody here fond of the man, but he's a clever hand and a quick study. It's a fool who thinks he stayed so close to the battery without figuring something about it.
You said as much to the last party, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of him since. Maybe they didn't run afoul of Baragon's ogres after all.
She raises a gray eyebrow at him. Uldric shrugs and turns back to the fire.
Just watch your step. Galvino's place is a ways east of the battery, and folk who pass it bring unsettling tales.
Tell me about the ogre camp.
Belongs to flames that whisper. Matron Baragon's clan. Hunters tell me they've been active of late.
Hunting elk and otherwise minding their own damn business.
He pops an apple wedge into his mouth and chews it aggressively.
Minding their own business. Never mind the latest expedition's disappearance or the broken stockade.
She pinches the bridge of her nose, squinting.
I'm saying we shouldn't agitate him further.
He makes to toss another slice of the peel into the fire, but he fumbles and drops his knife. He bends to pick it up, cursing. What does this matron have to do with anything?
The brawl outside was just the latest patch of trouble. The ogre clans are getting bolder, and we'll all sleep easier knowing they aren't circling our walls. Also, Baragons like to have whatever the last expedition found. Rumor has it they disappeared near her turf.
She crosses her arms and looks over to Uldric.
Killing a matron will only make our problems worse. The way to approach Baragon is with your hands held high.
If anyone could parley with an ogre, I suppose it'd be you. But they aren't known for their patience with prattle.
Got it.
Good. Before you leave town, stop by the Graves Rest. Most visitors to Stalwart spend some time there, so Hafric and his patrons may be able to give you the lay of the land.
Graves Rest. Okay. So F just isn't what I think it is in this area. That's like the third name where F is a V, and it completely recontextualizes most of the name. Huh. Don't know about you, but I'm parched all of a sudden. Actually, I want to ask you about something.
What's on your mind?
What can you tell me about Fiera's expeditions?
Who? Sorry, I don't recall the name.
Her brow furrows.
Last expedition I met disappeared weeks ago. Didn't give any names, but they definitely haven't come back this way. Don't mean the Fiera weren't part of an expedition, though. We get groups passing by sometimes looking to try their luck. What's on your mind?
I have questions about Durgan's battery in the White Forge.
The Pargrin dwarves guarded it like a mother bear. It's a wonder we know as much as we do.
Nope, that's just the old questions being reaccessed.
What's on your mind?
I want to know more about Stalwart.
Adir founded us back in their colonial days to supply ore to the Empire. Saw a fair bit of traffic from both sides of the White March then.
She rubs the nub of her shortened ring finger.
But after the Deerwood claimed independence, Defiance Bay found cheaper places to get ore. Didn't have much reason to maintain our supply routes.
Isn't Stalwart part of the Deerwood?
Officially. Though with the state the roads are in, you wouldn't guess it.
And what do you do here?
I'm the mayor. Or so I'm reminded every time there's a game shortage, ogre attack, or a neighborly dispute. I'm a builder by trade, though. Traveled all over Air Glonfoth and the Deerwood in my younger days, but ended up back here anyway.
She gives you a vague smile that's gone as quickly as it appears. Tell me some of the more important places around town.
Here in the center? Let's see. The Graves Rest is next door. Hafric can set you up with a room and a hot meal there. The fishery's just on the edge of the lake, and the Temple of Andra is next to it. No one keeps a secret like Lavda. Or so I'm told. A few folk live in this part of town, too. Seemed a lot safer before the ogres broke through the western gate. Thiersch lives next to the old mine shaft, and Tana, the old mine overseer, is next door to me.
She jerks her thumb toward the wall. Let's talk about something else.
What's on your mind?
Can you tell me anything about the last expedition that went to Durgan's battery?
They didn't volunteer much, and I knew better than to ask.
She scratches her jaw, frowning.
I've seen all types charging through here. Professional companies with shiny new equipment as brazen as you please, and hopeless runts with nothing but tattered leathers. But these folk, I don't know what they were after, and the way they looked at you made you feel cold all over.
She shakes her head as if dislodging a bad dream.
Wish I could tell you more.
Perhaps we'll find more in the battery itself, yes? He nods at you with a guarded look.
What's on your mind?
Well. And other characters leveled up. Oh, the loop. The loop continues. More athletics to survive the dangers of the ocean. Why did I say ocean? I meant burning buildings. It's a little different. Yeah, this is plus 2 all defenses, but it's for a time. Whereas some of the other upgrades just give him better upgrades. Some of the other upgrades just give him better defenses all the time. The fighter, Armored Grace. The fighter is perfectly suited to wear even bulky and restrictive suits of armor, lowering their recovery penalty significantly. Minus 20 armor speed penalty. Whoa. That's pretty cool. Just all of his actions are 20% faster, essentially, because everything he's wearing will always have that kind of negative effect. There's all these weapon specializations being here is a little... Oh, it's 15% damage, though. Because the talent version of weapon specialization has the same naming scheme of adventurer, knight, noble, peasant, ruffian, soldier. But those ones are like 4 accuracy or something. Yeah. So many skills, though. Immunity to frightened and terrified. A sweeping arc. It's per arrest, though, which bums me out. Large damage, though. Critical defense. Incoming crits become hits, incoming hits become grazes. Just makes them generally better at living. Guardian stance. Lowers accuracy but increases deflection of nearby allies. Only 2-meter range, though. Discipline barrage. Once per encounter. Just gets a little accuracy spike. Ooh. Grazes become hits. And bonus minimum damage. Unbending. You start to heal the incoming damage. I think I'm... This is per encounter, which is nice. I think I'm most tempted by either Armored Grace or Critical Defense. That's pretty good. Just make all the statistics stacked against our enemies until it's just comical. Like here, his dice rolls are already nuts. So where people are so unlikely to get the things they want against him. So just adding to that pile seems awful appealing. And Jury's a level up because you don't learn spells. Spell mastery. I guess he does learn spells. What does spell mastery mean? What does spell mastery mean? I'm gonna Google this so I know that what I'm doing. I am not afraid to Google shit in this game because there's just so many moments where I'm like, I don't understand what's happening on the screen right now, and I would like to know. Oh no, none of these things are wikis. I just want a wiki page that tells me very clearly what it means. Oh. There's a thread from 3 years ago that's like, now the game no longer gives us every lower level spell to cast per encounter once we reach higher levels. Which spells do you pick to master and why? So is it a spell that I turn into a per encounter? This person says, spell mastery now allows priests, wizards, and druids to pick one spell from spell level 1 when they're character level 9, another spell from level 1 to 2 at character level 11, another spell from level 1 through 3 at character level 13, and then 1 through 4 at level 15. Those mastery spells are once per encounter. The rest stays as it was, 2 to 4 spell uses per rest per spell level. You can still use the mastered spell as the per rest version as well. Okay. So basically I'm going to get 1 use per encounter of this spell that I pick for free. And then it goes back to spells per day with the rest of the tier. So this might be what I go with just because Armor of Faith is what I cast constantly. Like I clearly like it. Blessings, another contender. That's not that great though. 5 accuracy. 10% damage. Damage values are low enough in this game that 10% doesn't even always change the number. But not, at least not significantly half the time. Halt is a decent spell. Withdraw I haven't used as much as I probably should be, frankly. But like this is a weak heal. Yeah, I've always been a big fan of... what's Powers of Condemnation? That's single target, right? -5 dual defenses and take some damage. Yeah, I always like to use Armor of Faith. It does an area of effect, increased DR. And while one of the upgrades upsides of this one is that like some of these other spells are like, it does 10 damage and does this thing and stuff like that. But unless I'm misinterpreting something, 4 damage reduction is stacking with my other character's attributes. So it's one ability that kind of scales with the rest of our progression, and it's an ability that gives me damage reduction in addition to how much damage reduction we already have. So it's and generally speaking, how much damage incoming attacks are doing versus how much DR a character has is a gap that you're just kind of consistently trying to close. And the smaller you make that gap, the less damage you take, because the size of that gap is how much damage you're taking, and so that's the incoming DPS essentially. And so restricting that by any amount continually adds towards the idea of being able to stop that from killing you, and just makes the whole encounter better. Or at least that's why I always lean on the Armor of Faith, and it's certainly my favorite level 1 spell at this point. So having the first cast be something that doesn't even use my spells per day would be nice. God, he looks so ugly. I'm so sorry, Durance, but like... his character model just doesn't even begin to match his portrait. He looks like a completely different human being that's like 20, 30 years younger, first of all. But his beard is the worst part. Like, he's got his weird drapes of Snape hair, which is one thing. But his beard, like, straight up, they just like modeled it wrong. Like, up here is a 5 o'clock shadow beard, and down here is a weird draping beard, and this beard does not cover any part of his face. It starts under his face. It's so baffling to look at. I don't know. I don't mean to drag the game or anything. It's more like the, more talking about how, like, it's not a great idea to ever show us these character models up close, because they're designed to never, ever, ever be seen up close at all. Might as well just show us their character portrait instead, which does look good up close. That's why it was made. Because up here, it's like, I don't know. He's a guy in a robe. He's got a flamey scepter. He's got his like flamey staff that which I enjoy. I like the detail, by the way, that it's always equipped. Oh wait, no, that's just an alternate weapon, right? Because alternate weapons show up, don't they? Is he using Durance's? Is it his staff? It is his staff. Ah, so that's the upside of me keeping his staff equipped as his off weapon, is that he's recognizable as having his staff at all times, even though he's never using it, which helps him stand out. But yeah, from here is just some guy with hair and a beard. Like, you can't tell how fucked up his beard looks from here, but it looks so fucked up at the zoomed in camera angle. Whereas this picture looks perfectly fine. Put that up, billboard style, on the screen. I talked to Uldrick.
Something else you need?
Do you know anything about Durgan's battery?
It's a fool's hope. A fantasy that's kept these parts inhabited longer than they should be.
He glances around the old house and its worn furnishings.
They say the Pargrunan dwarves developed Durgan's steel, became powerful, rich, and then one day, they locked their doors and died.
He shrugs, turning his palms towards you.
Nothing like a mystery to stir folk up. Most of Stalwart is convinced that some Pargrin secret will save us all. But that don't stop them from whispering a prayer when they pass the old fortress.
A sour smirk crosses his lips. If they locked the door and died, I wouldn't really be thinking like, oh wow, some secret from their society is going to save us. I'd be thinking, oh, what if some secret from their society is literally, like, the biggest secret they have is why they died. Because apparently people don't understand what that was. I feel like opening the door might just unleash something upon everybody and make things way worse. What if it's like a weapon of mass destruction situation? Or radiation, or who knows what. Earlier you said I should make peace with Matron Berrigan.
About the only thing folk here haven't tried. Killing one more matron won't change things for long.
He shakes his head.
Besides, her clan's flames that whisper. The one that attacked us was Wolf with many mouths. I'd know him anywhere.
That's important information.
They're cut from the same cloth, Aldrich. Only a matter of time before Baragon marches through that gap in our walls.
You seem to disagree with Renengild on quite a few matters.
Mother's convinced that a magic forge will turn this frozen crack into a hub of civilization. She can't accept this place is dying. Me, I'd just as soon move on.
He scrapes the sole of his boot on the straight but weathered floorboards. What do you do here?
I'm a carpenter, Mother's a builder, so it felt like a good fit at the time.
He presses his lips into a wry frown.
Not that we've got a lot of new folk to build houses and furnishings for. These days, I spend most of my time fixing up the stockade.
Farewell.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to side with him. If they can't get any value out of the land, and they can't like put together resources to make their society flourish, and the environment itself is a hostile wasteland that wants to kill you if you're not
everywhere for you.
Oh, someone wants to talk to me. If the land itself is constantly this hostile wasteland that wants to kill you, just if you're not constantly like indoors or near sources of heat, like it's a struggle to live here at all, and it has no economic value, and there are a variety of threats surrounding you, keeping you up at night because you're always going to be attacked. It's really hard to justify staying here. Like, you think at the very least they'd be like, oh, it's nice here, or oh, it's safe here, or oh, it's profitable here. Like any of those you would hope would be the case. But it's not profitable here, it's not nice to be here, and it's not a safe location. So like those are like, it's a none of the above situation. Going through such work to save it seems weird, and the number of deaths that seem to have been involved in trying to save it seems kind of crass. The man is sweating despite the cold. He opens his mouth to speak, but all that comes out is loud, hacking cough. He bends forward, bracing his hands on his thighs while he heaves and gasps. After a lengthy duration, he raises a finger, still panting. I'm trying to make out his face, because he looks like he's got like a lion's mane or something. Is he a god woken? All Afric's fault. Damn fool sent me to the other side of town, looking for you. At last he stands again. He wipes his dripping brow with the back of his hand, then offers a hand to you in greeting. Pick your nose, then shake his hand. Jesus. Shake his hand. Pleasure to meet you. I'm the, captain of the militia around here. Really? I didn't see you during the ogre attack. See, I was, guarding the Graves Rest. Someone had to make sure those ogres didn't burn it down, like they did to Katie's house. Damn shame, that. He frowns and shakes his head solemnly. I wanted to catch you before you went running off into the wilds. See, there's a few dangerous folk you might be on the lookout for. Plus, if you're heading out to Longwatch Falls, I thought you might pick up a thermal pearl for me. He looks away and twists the toe of his boot into the snow. You want me to find a thermal pearl for you? That's the thing. I already found it. I just need someone else to go out and get it. Saw it in the hot springs near the Longwatch Falls. Would have grabbed it myself, but that's when I looked around and saw the Lagufeth. Must have been 50 of them. He spreads his arms wide. I would have fought, but I started to wonder what the rest of the Stalwart would do without me, so I ran. For the sake of the village, of course. Yeah. Can't admit to being a coward, or even a pragmatist. You have to justify it for the greater good, and not just like, I'm not gonna fight 50 things, what the fuck? What is a thermal pearl anyway? They form in the hot springs, something to do with the minerals in the water. Smell kind of funny, but they're full of minerals. Just have to crumble them into a pint. He grins, and he knows that his gums are bleeding. Survival 4. They cure scurvy. Like I said, the pearls in one of the thermal pools near Longwatch Falls shouldn't be hard to spot. You could also get any fruit, but I guess you're lacking that stuff around here, huh? I could just give him fruit right now for my inventory, because I never use consumables. Tell me more about the Longwatch Falls. It's east of Stalwart. Got good, nice views of the valley, but most folk avoid it these days. Plenty of wilder nearby, and it only takes a few inches of snow to block the pass. If you're heading out that way, I'd suggest talking to Thirsk? I hate these names. He might have something to help you deal with the Lagotheth. That's all I need to know. Stop by Thirsk's place before you leave town. He's in the house next to the mines. He's a veteran hunter who knows the wilds better than anyone. He said something about dangerous folk in the wilderness. We get our share of crazies out here. Most of them aren't even from the village. He laughs at his own joke. Latest groups I'd heard of were the Gleaming Society and the Sisterhood of the Slaked Skull. But Renengild set aside some bounty money to see that these troublemakers were taken care of. You bring me the heads of their leaders, and I'll give you the payment. I want to know about the Gleaming Society. Crazy pack of radicals that wants to topple governments and kill the wealthy. Makes the War of Defiance look like a good fight. Duke Avar and the Regent of Redsurus both declared them illegal, which is probably the only thing those two agree on. Anyway, check Longwatch Falls to the east. That's where they've last seen. Who leads the Sisterhood of the Slaked Skull? That'd be Metzla. All the members of the Sisterhood worship Bareth. By sending as many folk back to the wheel as they can. He shivers. They've been poking around Durgan's battery, and Whale only knows why. But you can understand why no one around here was pleased to hear about it. Passed through town recently. Didn't stay long, but they stopped at the Temple of Andra. You might see if Lafta knows something. If you come across them, be careful. They're unpredictable.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we go take a look at Durgan's battery that's right here, apparently.
Right.
I assume we can't access it. Oh, I thought I saw that there's, especially on this map, there's like vaguely a crack-looking shape here. I totally thought that that was the opening to Durgan's battery that's sealed or whatever, so we could inspect it. Probably get one of those full screens where we could look at a whole bunch of the... We read through some text and everything. The special interaction screen. Instead, that's just a crack. Because this is the path to Durgan's battery. Whoops. Might as well add it to my map. There's Longwatch Falls. The Russet Wood. This map's getting populated all of a sudden. We've been to Graf's West. Let's go to Tana's house. Just because it's the only thing on the left that I haven't been to yet. I don't want to lose track. We're gonna meet so many people. But first,
Zawa is ready.
let's talk to Zawa for a bit. I haven't tried out any of his custom dialogue. Actually, I haven't tried you yet. Ah. We have updated Aloth dialogue since we did the quest. Aloth looks at you with quiet intentiveness. How can I be of service? So, now you understand a little bit more about Esselmir. He wrinkles his nose. No thanks to that animancer. My spleen? Black bile? Come on. Belisage's methods were flawed, but you still learned something, didn't you? Only because you and I have a lick of good sense between us. But the average person? Show them a shiny gadget in the hands of an expert and they'll believe anything. Perhaps. Animancy has its uses, but it's hard to say whether those outweigh the dangers. It's too decentralized. There's no one to keep the practice in check. No uniform principles or guidelines. Yes, you need someone in charge to regulate the practice. Quite so. Practitioners won't do it on their own. Why did you want to take Belastage's notes? He gives you a sidelong glance. Like I said, I didn't appreciate her prying. About your parents. He looks at you cautiously. Yes? Why was your mother gone so often? She was invited to join a Hamneg with a landed Thane when I was very young. His estate was a 5-day ride from our home in the Sithwood. That was part of it. He gives you the smallest of frowns. The real issue, however, was my father. Despite his initial agreement with the arrangement, father was never happy about it. He would hound and harangue my mother when she was home. He wanted to know whether she was intimate with the Thane, and no matter how many times she swore she wasn't, it was never enough. As you can imagine, that led to her coming home much less often, even though she still supported us financially. Shouldn't have abandoned you like that. He cocks his head. I never thought of it as abandonment. She had an important role managing the Lord Thane's lands and administrative duties, and even though she was away, she still provided well for us. There's more types of providing, though. What's a Hamneg? A ceremonial marriage between folk and elf. Because the Adir mainland has historically been split between the two races, we have many institutions that are designed to normalize relations. Our monarchy is headed by the folk, but an elven consort rules alongside the reigning Fairkonig or Mexwig. This is the most prominent example of Hamneg. In many cases, a Hamneg allows two households to pool resources. Among the aristocracy, Hamnegs consolidate power. Sometimes, as in my mother's case, a Hamneg is a means for a noble to add another administrator to his or her household. Consorts are received with almost the same level of respect as their noble counterparts, which can be extremely useful. Of course, Hamnegs are sometimes used to sanitize an extramarital affair. He shrugs. I don't know that it's really any better, but it seems to satisfy common notions of decency, and elf and folk unions are sterile, which no doubt eases some concerns. They can't get pregnant. It sounds like your father had a problem with his temper. He had a problem with my mother's Hamneg, even though they agreed upon it long ago. That the financial benefits would be considerable, that it was little different from his role as the Earl's steward, and it ate at him. And so he drank and raged. When she was home, he raged at her, and when she wasn't, he raged at me. More than anything, he wanted me to become an arcane knight in the service of his Earl. I think he felt this would validate his chosen career and master. He was a firm man, as you saw, but in the end I became a successful wizard, due in no small part to his strictness. Nonsense. You accomplished that on your own, and you would have been fine without him pushing you. Are you so certain? I didn't know what I wanted from my life then. I surely wouldn't have been so focused without a little direction. That's all I really wanted to know. He looks relieved. Very well. That's all. A bit more context, and a bit more abuse. And a bit more stealing! Haha! No! Now I am sad. I am sad. We were unsuccessful.
Hey.
I haven't talked to Eder for a while either, for that matter. Nope.
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed. Your mind comes bearing questions, Watcher.
I heard the name Watcher in your thoughts when you remembered the birthing bell. Why?
It is because I once believed I was one, and others believed I was one.
Why did you believe you were a Watcher? We've read that before. Why is it listed as if it's not read? I feel like, I don't know if any of this dialogue is actually new. I don't know. Some lines go through and look like they're not, they look like they're new when they're not. Like they're marked accordingly. Oh my god, everybody who's ever held the books has been switched out of the party. My collection, it's distraught. It's broken. But I don't have volume 3 of the Deerwood. No. Daily affirmations of focus and efficiency. I don't remember if I've read this before. I can't tell. All errors can be reforged into lessons. Abaddon rebuilt himself from ruin. No setback is insurmountable, not even death itself, so long as the soul is dedicated to the task. Work hard, work well. Abaddon demands only honest labor and forthright service. All errors can be reforged if your first intentions are pure. All ignorance can be reforged into knowledge. Master your craft. Excel at what you have been trusted to do. Do not offend your teacher by remaining a student forever. Each generation must forge its successors. Teach your trade to all who are willing to learn, and in doing so, multiply the fruits of your knowledge. All difficulties can be reforged into triumphs. Meet strife with humility and acceptance. Let adversity temper the ingot of your will, and you will never shatter. Embrace your station. Fulfill the duties of your rank, and meddle not in the affairs of your betters. All guilds fail at their weakest link. All loss can be reforged into strength. Profitable work heals all emptiness. So long as you have the tools for your trade, you will always be able to forge wealth anew. Value the works of others, and they will value your works in return. Share the harvest with the hungry and your tools with the destitute. All souls can be reforged into whatever we will. Hard work is not exclusive to life. Death is no time for complacency. Commit yourself to excellence in this cycle and the next. Huh. I think I've read that before. I think it's just that because it's such a vague self-help book thing of motivation, like it's just so, it just fucking runs right off me. I immediately forget that I've read it because it's just incredibly generic. All right, moving on.